Captain Sarah Chen floated in the command center of the space station Endeavour, watching Earth turn slowly below. The blue planet looked peaceful from here, but Sarah knew better. Down there, nations still argued over resources while scientists worked day and night to push humanity toward the stars. She was checking the morning reports when the sensors went crazy. "Captain," called Lieutenant Park from his station. "We have something big out there. Really big." Sarah pushed herself toward the sensor display. The screen showed a massive object near Jupiter, bigger than anything humans had ever built. It wasn't moving like a normal spacecraft. Instead, it seemed to bend space around itself. "Is it a ship?" she asked. "I think so, but the readings don't make sense. It's like it's not completely there." Before Sarah could respond, the object appeared right in front of them. One moment, empty space. The next moment, a ship the size of a city floated outside their windows. The hull was smooth and dark, covered in patterns that seemed to shift when she looked at them. A voice spoke in her mind, not through the radio but directly in her thoughts. "Greetings, primitive beings. I am Commander Zethkar of the Kralian Survey Fleet. You will prepare for inspection." Sarah's heart raced, but her training kicked in. First contact protocols existed, though no one really believed they would need them. She opened a channel on all frequencies. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earthship Endeavour. Welcome to our solar system. We would like to establish peaceful communication." There was a long pause. Then the alien voice returned, sounding surprised. "You respond without fear. This is unusual. Most species either attack or worship when they first see us." "We're curious," Sarah said. "We've been waiting to meet other intelligent life for a long time." Through the viewport, she watched smaller ships detach from the alien vessel. They moved without any visible engines, dancing around the Endeavour like fish in water. Dr. Marcus Rodriguez, the station's chief engineer, pressed his face against the window. "Look at how they move," he whispered. "No exhaust, no reaction mass. They're manipulating gravity itself." Sarah keyed her communicator. "What do you see, Marcus?" "The energy field around their ships creates a bubble in space-time. If I'm right, they're essentially falling forward through curved space. The power requirements would be enormous unless—" He paused, thinking. "Unless they're tapping into quantum vacuum fluctuations." Commander Zethkar's voice returned. "Your engineer understands quickly. In one observation, he has grasped principles that took most species centuries to develop." A beam of light surrounded the Endeavour. Sarah felt a strange tingling as the alien scanning technology examined every atom of their ship. She could almost sense the invisible hands exploring their databases, their technology, their minds. "Fascinating," the alien commander said. "Your species shows remarkable neural activity. Your brains form connections at an accelerated rate. Most unusual. Is that good or bad?" Sarah asked. Another pause. "That remains to be determined." Hours passed as the aliens studied the human station. During this time, Dr. Rodriguez had filled 17 pages with calculations about alien technology. He showed them to Sarah, his eyes bright with excitement. "Look at this. Their gravity drives work on a feedback loop principle. But see this equation here? If we modified the field harmonics and added a secondary stabilizer, we could increase efficiency by at least 30%. Sarah stared at him. "Marcus, we've known about these aliens for exactly 4 hours." "I know. Isn't it wonderful?" Commander Zethkar requested permission to board the station. Sarah agreed, though she made sure security teams were ready. When the alien transport arrived, it didn't dock normally. Instead, it seemed to merge with the station's hull, creating a seamless tunnel. The Kralian commander was tall and thin, with blue-gray skin and large dark eyes. He wore no suit but moved comfortably in the human atmosphere. Behind him came 2 assistants carrying strange devices. "Your species adapts quickly," he observed, watching the humans work at their stations without panic. "Most primitives would be prostrating themselves or running in terror." "We're not most primitives," Sarah replied. Over the next day, Commander Zethkar toured the station. He seemed particularly interested in the human computer systems and their approach to problem-solving. When Dr. Rodriguez explained how humans used intuition combined with logic, the alien commander's expression became troubled. "You think in patterns we do not recognize," he said. "Your minds make connections that should not exist. This is concerning." "Why concerning?" Sarah asked. "Because it suggests your species may be unpredictable." On the second day, more alien ships arrived. Representatives from different species filled the Endeavor's conference room. Sarah found herself facing beings that looked like walking crystals, others that resembled giant insects, and some that seemed to be made of living metal. The crystal being spoke first, its voice like wind chimes. "I am Elder Thesara of the Velthari. We have observed your species from a distance. You show concerning signs of rapid development." "Concerning how?" Sarah asked. "Most species follow predictable patterns," explained an insect-like creature with too many arms. "They develop technology slowly, accept guidance from older species, and integrate peacefully into the galactic community. Your species shows signs of dangerous independence." Dr. Rodriguez leaned forward. "What exactly is the galactic community?" Elder Thesara gestured, and a holographic map appeared in the air. It showed the galaxy filled with trade routes, territorial boundaries, and political divisions. Thousands of species, hundreds of governments, all connected in a vast network. "The Galactic Concordat maintains peace and order among 847 member species," she explained. "We offer guidance to developing worlds, helping them advance safely and responsibly." "And if a species doesn't want guidance?" Sarah asked. The silence that followed was answer enough. Commander Zethkar spoke carefully. "The Concordat has maintained galactic peace for over 50,000 years. This stability requires certain agreements from all participants." Sarah felt a chill. "You mean all species must follow your rules?" "For the greater good, yes." Dr. Rodriguez had been studying the holographic display. "Your technology," he said suddenly. "It's all based on the same principles. Every ship, every device, they all use identical underlying systems." The aliens exchanged glances. Elder Thesara's crystalline form seemed to dim slightly. "Standardization ensures compatibility and prevents dangerous innovations," she said. "It also prevents progress," Rodriguez countered. "You've created a technological dead end. No wonder your civilization has been stable for 50,000 years. It stopped growing." The tension in the room was thick enough to cut. Sarah realized they were at a crossroads. The aliens were offering humanity a choice, but it wasn't really a choice at all. "What happens if Earth refuses to join your Concordat?" she asked. Commander Zethkar looked uncomfortable. "Such situations are rare. Most species see the wisdom of cooperation. But what happens to the ones who don't?" The alien commander's silence spoke volumes. Elder Thesara stepped forward. "Captain Chen, your species shows great potential, but that potential must be channeled properly. We offer guidance, protection, and access to technologies beyond your current understanding. All we ask in return is cooperation." Sarah looked around the room at her crew, then at the assembled aliens. She thought about Earth below, about the billions of humans who had dreamed of reaching the stars and meeting other intelligent life. She wondered if those dreams had just become nightmares. "We need time to discuss this with our governments," she said finally. "Of course," Elder Thesara replied. "You have 72 hours to consider our offer." After the aliens left, Sarah floated alone in the observation deck, watching their ships patrol the edges of the solar system. Dr. Rodriguez joined her, his earlier excitement replaced by worry. "They're not here to welcome us to the galaxy," he said quietly. "They're here to control us," Sarah nodded. "The question is, what are we going to do about it?" She opened a secure channel to Earth. It was time to warn humanity that their first contact with alien life might also be their last chance at freedom. 6 months had passed since the aliens arrived. Earth looked different now. Strange towers reached toward the sky, their surfaces glowing with alien energy. Ships moved between the planets using technology that bent space itself. To most humans, it seemed like a golden age had begun. Dr. Yuki Tanaka knew better. She stood in her laboratory in Tokyo, studying the medical scanner the Kralians had given to humanity. The device could heal broken bones in minutes and cure diseases that had plagued humans for centuries. It was a miracle of alien technology. It was also completely wrong. "Look at this," she said to her assistant, Dr. Kim Patel. "The scanner can detect cancer, but it misses depression. It can repair tissue damage, but can't measure emotional trauma. The aliens built a medical device that ignores half of what makes us human." Dr. Patel frowned at the readings. Maybe they don't understand human psychology. Or maybe they don't think it matters. Yuki made a note in her research journal. For the past month, she had been modifying the scanner in secret. Her version could detect not just physical illness but mental health, genetic predispositions, and even early signs of neurological changes. The Kralian observers wouldn't approve. They had made it clear that humans should use alien technology exactly as designed. No modifications, no improvements, no creative thinking. Yuki didn't care what they thought. Across the Pacific Ocean, engineer Pavel Volkov was having similar thoughts. He stood in the engine room of the cargo ship New Moscow, watching the alien space drive that had replaced the old chemical rockets. The drive worked perfectly, moving the ship between Earth and Mars in just 2 weeks instead of 6 months. But Pavel could see how to make it better. The energy coupling is inefficient, he told his engineering team. Look at these power fluctuations. We're losing almost 40% of our input energy to heat waste. His assistant, Maria Santos, checked the readings. The aliens say the drive operates at optimal efficiency. Optimal for their understanding, maybe. Pavel pulled up his modifications on the computer screen. But what if we added a secondary magnetic coil here and used human ceramic composites? For the field guides, we could increase efficiency by 30% and reduce the heat signature by half. The Kralian supervisors said not to modify alien technology, Maria warned. Pavel smiled. They said not to break it. They didn't say not to improve it. In orbit around Earth, Captain Sarah Chen was dealing with a different kind of problem. The alien observers had set up monitoring stations throughout the solar system, watching everything humans did. They claimed it was for humanity's protection, but Sarah felt like a prisoner in her own star system. "Captain," called Lieutenant Park from the communication station, "we're receiving a distress signal from the asteroid belt. Mining Station Beta 7 is reporting equipment failures." Sarah checked the location. Beta 7 was one of the new mining stations built with alien technology. It should have been impossible for anything to go wrong. "Set course for Beta 7, she ordered, "and don't inform the Kralian observers until we know what's happening." The journey to the asteroid belt took 3 days. When they arrived, Sarah was surprised to find the mining station operating normally. The distress signal had been fake. Commander Jackson Hayes met her at the airlock. He was supposed to be running a simple mining operation, but Sarah could see sophisticated equipment hidden throughout the station. "Welcome to Project Prometheus," he said quietly. Sarah followed him through the station's corridors. What she saw made her understand why the distress signal had been faked. This wasn't just a mining station. It was a research facility and shipyard, hidden in the asteroid belt where alien sensors couldn't detect it. "How long has this been going on?" she asked. "Since the second week after first contact," Commander Hayes replied. "Admiral Torres decided we needed insurance. If the aliens turn hostile, humanity needs options." They entered a vast chamber carved from the asteroid. Inside, human engineers were building something that took Sarah's breath away. It was a spacecraft, but unlike anything she had ever seen. The design combined human engineering with modified alien technology, creating something entirely new. "We call it the Defiance," Hayes explained. "It uses Dr. Rodriguez's improved gravity drive, Dr. Tanaka's enhanced sensor array, and Mr. Volkov's upgraded power systems, plus a few innovations the aliens never thought of." Sarah studied the ship's design. It was smaller than alien vessels, but looked faster and more agile. The hull was covered in a pattern of angles and curves that seemed to shift depending on how you looked at it. "Stealth technology?" she asked. "Better than stealth. The hull uses quantum reflection principles that make sensors think the ship is somewhere else. Dr. Chen's daughter Amy designed it. Apparently, 16-year-olds have different ideas about physics than aliens do." Amy Chen was indeed 16, but as Sarah discovered, she was also a genius. The teenager had taken alien computer technology and combined it with human brain research to create something unprecedented. "I call them quantum biological processors," Amy explained, showing Sarah her laboratory. "They use modified human neural tissue to process information. The aliens use purely artificial systems, but human brains work differently. We can make intuitive leaps that pure logic can't achieve." Sarah stared at the device Amy had created. It looked like a mixture of computer and living tissue pulsing with soft light. "How fast is it?" Sarah asked. About 1,000 times faster than alien computers for creative problem solving, Amy said casually. The aliens are really good at following rules and procedures, but terrible at innovation. Their computers are the same way. Over the following weeks, Sarah learned the true scope of Project Prometheus. Hidden facilities throughout the solar system were developing new technologies, training military personnel, and preparing for the possibility that humanity's guidance period would become permanent imprisonment. The breakthrough came when Dr. Amara Oduya, a linguist working on alien languages, made a startling discovery. It's not just their spoken languages, she explained to Sarah during a secret meeting on the moon. Their entire way of thinking is hierarchical. Every alien species we've met thinks in rigid patterns. Their technology, their politics, their science, everything follows the same top-down structure. And that's bad because, Sarah asked, because it means they can't innovate. They can only improve existing designs incrementally. Real breakthroughs require chaos, random connections, intuitive leaps, things that hierarchical thinking prevents. Dr. Oduya pulled up her analysis of alien technology. Look at this. Every piece of alien tech we've seen is based on principles discovered tens of thousands of years ago. They've been refining the same basic designs for longer than human civilization has existed. Sarah began to understand. They're not more advanced than us. They're just older. Exactly. And now they're trying to force us into the same rigid thinking patterns. If they succeed, humanity will stop innovating too. The crisis came when a human deep space probe encountered an alien patrol. The probe had been launched in secret, equipped with Amy Chen's quantum biological computer and Dr. Tanaka's enhanced sensors. It was supposed to scout beyond the solar system and return with information about alien territories. Instead, it found a Kralian battle fleet heading toward Earth. The probe's AI didn't just observe the alien ships. It analyzed their weaknesses, identified their communication frequencies, and discovered their tactical plans. Then it did something no alien AI would ever do. It made an intuitive leap. The probe realized that the aliens were planning to invade Earth and remove humanity's growing independence. So it did what any human would do in the same situation. It attacked. The probe couldn't defeat a battle fleet, but it didn't need to. It hacked into the alien communication network, broadcast their invasion plans back to Earth, then self-destructed in a way that damaged 3 Kralian ships and made it look like an accident. Commander Zethkar arrived at Earth the next day, demanding explanations. Your probe malfunctioned and attacked our vessels, he accused Captain Chen during an emergency meeting. Sarah had seen the probe's final transmission. She knew exactly what had happened, and she was proud of humanity's first AI warrior. Equipment failures happen, she said calmly. I'm sure you understand. The alien commander's expression showed he understood perfectly. The humans were no longer innocent children playing with alien toys. They had become something dangerous. The Concordat Council has been informed of these incidents, he said formally. They are concerned about humanity's development. After he left, Sarah contacted Project Prometheus immediately. How long until the fleet is ready? She asked Admiral Torres. 6 weeks for the first squadron, Torres replied. But Sarah, if we're right about what's coming, 6 weeks might be too long. Sarah looked out at Earth, where billions of humans went about their daily lives, unaware that their future hung in the balance. The aliens had come offering guidance and protection, but Sarah now understood the truth. They had come to prevent humanity from becoming what it was destined to be, the most dangerous species in the galaxy. The question was whether humans could break free of their cage before it became a tomb. The cage door slammed shut on a Tuesday morning. Admiral Rebecca Torres was reviewing fleet readiness reports when every human ship in the solar system received the same message. It came from Elder Thesera herself, broadcast on all frequencies in a tone that left no room for argument. By order of the Galactic Concordat Council, all human space activities are now restricted to the Earth-Moon system. Human vessels attempting to leave this zone will be turned back. This measure is temporary, designed to ensure proper development of human galactic citizenship. Rebecca stared at the message for a long moment, then activated the emergency communication network. Within minutes, she was connected to leaders across Earth and the hidden facilities of Project Prometheus. "They're not even pretending anymore," said President Elena Vasquez from the White House. "How long do we have?" Rebecca pulled up her tactical displays. Alien ships now formed a complete barrier around the inner solar system. More vessels arrived every hour, including massive dreadnoughts that dwarfed anything humanity had ever built. "Based on their positioning, I'd say we have maybe 2 weeks before they decide talking isn't enough," Rebecca replied. "They're building up for something bigger than a blockade." Dr. Amy Chen's voice crackled over the secure channel from her laboratory on Mars. "I've been monitoring their communications. They're not just blocking us in, they're preparing for something called Solution 7. "What's Solution 7? Asked Commander Hayes from the asteroid belt. Amy's pause was ominous. "I can't decode all of it, but the phrases I recognize translate roughly to technological reset and developmental reversal." The implication hit everyone at once. The aliens weren't planning to imprison humanity forever. They were planning to destroy human civilization and start over with a species that would be more cooperative. Rebecca made her decision. "Activate all Prometheus facilities. We're out of time." Across the solar system, hidden bases came to life. Mining stations revealed themselves as shipyards. Research facilities opened blast doors to reveal weapons laboratories. Transport ships shed their disguises and became warships. Dr. Yuki Tanaka was working in her enhanced medical bay when the first alien inspection team arrived at the Tokyo spaceport. She watched through her window as Kralian soldiers escorted human officials away from the alien technology centers. "They're confiscating everything," her assistant Dr. Patel whispered. "All the medical scanners, the fabrication units, even the computers." Yuki smiled grimly. "Let them take the originals. We kept the good stuff." She led Dr. Patel to a hidden chamber beneath the medical center. Inside were dozens of the modified scanners, quantum computers, and other devices that human scientists had been secretly improving for months. "The aliens think they gave us tools," Yuki said. "They don't understand that we turned their tools into weapons." She activated one of her modified medical scanners and pointed it at the building above them. The display showed not just the alien soldiers, but their emotional states, stress levels, and biological weaknesses. "Kralians have enhanced adrenaline systems that make them stronger, but also more prone to panic attacks," she explained. "Their nervous system operates on different frequencies than ours. A properly tuned sonic pulse could incapacitate them without harming humans." At the same time, Pavel Volkov was putting his own preparations into action. When alien inspectors arrived at his shipyard, they found a standard cargo facility with normal human workers. They couldn't see the hidden levels below, where Pavel's team had been building something unprecedented. "Initiate Ghost Protocol," Pavel ordered. Throughout the facility, hidden systems activated. The cargo ships in the main hangar were revealed to be disguised warships. The workers shed their coveralls to reveal military uniforms. The entire shipyard transformed from a peaceful industrial site into a military base. Pavel's masterpiece was the ship Defiance, but it was no longer alone. 3 sister ships had been completed in secret, each one incorporating improvements the aliens had never imagined. "The Kralians build big, slow, heavily armored ship," Pavel explained to his crew. "They fight like knights in armor. We're going to fight like wolves." Captain Maria Santos, now commanding the Defiance, studied the tactical displays. The alien blockade ships were impressive, but they were positioned like a traditional fleet. Fixed formations, predictable patrol patterns, communication systems that relied on hierarchy and clear command structures. "They're fighting the last war," she realized. "They expect us to line up and fight ship to ship like civilized species." "Good thing we're not civilized," replied her tactical officer. The first battle began by accident. A human transport carrying medical supplies to the Mars colonies was turned back by a Kralian patrol ship. When the transport's captain tried to explain that the cargo was urgently needed medicine, the alien commander ordered him to dump his cargo and return to Earth immediately. Captain Joe of the transport Mercy had a different idea. "Tell them we're complying," he ordered his crew. "Then prepare for emergency acceleration." The transport ship suddenly changed course, diving toward Mars at maximum speed. The Kralian patrol ship moved to intercept, expecting the humans to surrender when faced with superior firepower. Instead, Captain Joe rammed his ship directly into the alien vessel's engine section. Both ships were destroyed. But Joe's sacrifice accomplished something unprecedented. For the first time in 50,000 years, a primitive species had drawn blood from the galactic concordate. The psychological impact was enormous. Across the galaxy, subject species learned that the supposedly invincible concordate ships could be destroyed by desperate humans in cargo haulers. Rebecca Torres used the moment to launch humanity's real counterattack. All Prometheus units, this is Admiral Torres. Operation Breakout is now active. Show them what humans can do. The asteroid belt erupted with activity. Hidden shipyards released dozens of human warships, each one designed around principles the aliens couldn't understand. The ships didn't fight like a traditional fleet. Instead, they attacked like a pack of wolves, coordinating through quantum communication networks while maintaining individual initiative. The Defiance led the first attack wave against a Kralian dreadnought. Maria Santos brought her ship in fast and low, using the larger vessel's own mass to hide from its sensors. Instead of trying to fight the dreadnought directly, she targeted its communication arrays and sensor clusters. "Blind the giant," she ordered her weapons officer. "Make it fight deaf and dumb." The human weapons were smaller than alien systems, but they were designed for precision rather than raw power. While the Kralian dreadnought fired massive energy beams at empty space, the Defiance systematically destroyed its ability to coordinate with other ships. Dr. Amy Chen's quantum biological computers proved their worth in the battle. While alien ships relied on rigid tactical programs, human vessels adapted in real time to changing conditions. When a Kralian commander tried a flanking maneuver, the human ships had already predicted it and prepared countermeasures. "Their computers think like accountants," Amy explained to the fleet commanders during a brief communications window. "Ours think like artists. They can't predict chaos." The battle raged for 6 hours. When it ended, humanity had lost 12 ships but destroyed 3 times as many alien vessels. More importantly, they had broken through the blockade and reached open space. Commander Zethkar broadcast a message to the human fleet from his damaged flagship. "You have made a grave error," he said. "The Concordate has maintained galactic peace for 50 millennia. We will not allow one primitive species to destroy that stability." Admiral Torres responded from her command ship. "Commander, with respect, your peace was built on preventing anyone from growing strong enough to challenge you. That's not peace. That's tyranny." "You understand nothing of galactic politics," Zethkar replied. "There are forces in this galaxy that would destroy everything if they were unleashed. The Concordate exists to maintain balance." "Maybe," Torres said, "but we're going to find out for ourselves." As news of the human victory spread through alien communication networks, something unprecedented began happening across the galaxy. Species that had been subjects of the Concordate for thousands of years started asking questions. On the trading world of Velsora, merchant captains began wondering why they needed Concordate permits to travel between their own colonies. In the Thekmor military academies, young warriors questioned why their tactics hadn't changed in 10,000 years. The Silvani Consortium, which had been humanity's most enthusiastic supporter, sent a secret message to Admiral Torres. "We have watched your development with great interest," the message read. "Perhaps it is time for the galaxy to learn what progress really means." Elder Thessera called an emergency session of the Concordate Council. For the first time in millennia, the ancient body faced a crisis they couldn't solve with traditional methods. "The humans have done more than break our blockade," she announced to the assembled representatives. "They have broken the psychological barriers that kept our subjects obedient. Species across the galaxy are beginning to demand the same freedoms humans claimed for themselves." The militant Thekmor representative slammed his armored fist on the council table. "Then we crush them all. Show the galaxy what happens to those who challenge Concordate authority." The Concordate Council chamber had never seen anything like it. For 50,000 years, the ancient hall had been a place of quiet deliberation and careful consensus. Now it rang with angry voices as representatives from 800 species argued about what to do with humanity. Elder Thessera stood at the center of the chaos, her crystalline form glowing with stress patterns. Around her, the galaxy's most powerful beings shouted over each other like frightened children. "The humans have destroyed 17 of our ships," roared General Krikstok of the Thekmor hegemony. "They use tactics that violate every principle of civilized warfare. They target communication systems instead of fighting honorably," complained Admiral Velnara of the Kralian fleet. "How can we maintain proper formation when our ships cannot coordinate?" "Perhaps," suggested Merchant Prince Silvana quietly. We should ask why 17 of our ships were defeated by a species that learned to build spacecraft 6 months ago. The chamber fell silent. It was a question no one wanted to answer. Elder Thessera activated the central display, showing tactical reports from the recent battles. The holographic images were humiliating. Massive concordate dreadnoughts disabled by tiny human fighters. Ancient battle formations scattered by ships that seemed to anticipate every move. The analysis is clear, she announced. Human technology has progressed beyond our initial estimates. More concerning, their tactical thinking operates outside established parameters. They fight like barbarians. General Krickstock slammed his armored fist on his seat. No honor, no proper formation, no respect for military tradition. They fight like survivors, corrected Dr. Ventala, the Concordate's chief xenobiologist. I have studied their development patterns. Humans evolved on a world with multiple competing predators. Their entire civilization is based on adaptation and innovation. They literally cannot think in rigid patterns. The implications hung in the air like a toxic cloud. If humans couldn't be forced into traditional thinking patterns, they couldn't be controlled by traditional methods. Elder Thessera made the decision that would change galactic history. The Council votes on Solution 7. All in favor of complete technological reset of the human species? The vote was closer than expected. The Thekmor and Kralian factions voted yes immediately. The Silvani hesitated, then voted no. Other species split along factional lines, but in the end, the result was clear. Solution 7 was approved. Admiral Rebecca Torres received the intelligence report while her fleet was regrouping near Jupiter. The message came from an unexpected source. Commander Zethkar himself transmitted on a coded channel. Admiral Torres, this is Commander Zethkar. I am sending this message against direct orders, but I believe you deserve to know what is coming. Rebecca frowned. Why would the alien commander warn them? The Concordate has approved Solution 7. This is the complete electromagnetic bombardment of your planet's surface, designed to destroy all technology above the level of simple metallurgy. Your species will be reset to approximately your Bronze Age development level. The blood drained from Rebecca's face. They weren't just planning to conquer Earth. They were planning to destroy human civilization entirely. The bombardment fleet will arrive in your system in 72 hours. I am sorry, Admiral. I have come to respect your species, but the Council fears what you represent more than they value what you might become. Rebecca immediately called an emergency conference of all human commanders. The holographic meeting included captains scattered across the solar system, commanders of hidden bases, and the scientific leaders who had made humanity's rapid development possible. They're not just coming to defeat us, she announced without preamble. They're coming to erase us. Dr. Amy Chen, participating from her laboratory on Mars, was the first to speak. How long until the bombardment begins? 72 hours, Rebecca replied. Amy's young face was grim. Then we need to do something they'll never expect. What do you mean? Asked Captain Maria Santos from the bridge of the Defiance. We need to attack them first, not their ships, their homeworlds. The suggestion shocked everyone into silence. Attacking Concordate space was suicide. They had hundreds of worlds, millions of ships and technology that was thousands of years old. Pavel Volkov broke the silence. The girl is right. We can't win a defensive war. We don't have enough ships or firepower. So what are you suggesting? Rebecca asked. Amy pulled up her analysis of Concordate technology and tactics. They think hierarchically. Everything flows from the top down. If we can disrupt their command structure, their entire system will collapse. She showed them the communication networks that connected Concordate space, massive relay stations that had operated unchanged for millennia, carrying orders from the Council to the farthest reaches of the galaxy. Their entire civilization depends on these networks, Amy explained. But they're designed for stability, not security. They never imagined anyone would be crazy enough to attack them directly. Dr. Yuki Tanaka leaned forward. What about the human prisoners? Pavel was captured during the Mars battle. There might be others. Rebecca nodded. Pavel Volkov had been taken prisoner 3 days earlier when his ship was disabled. The aliens claimed they wanted to study human psychology and technology. If we're going to do this, we need to move fast, Rebecca decided. Amy, how long to prepare the necessary equipment? Give me 24 hours, Amy replied. But Admiral, This plan requires someone to penetrate concordate space and plant quantum viruses in their central networks. It's a one-way mission. I'll do it, volunteered Captain Santos immediately. So will I, added Commander Hayes. And me, said Dr. Tanaka. Rebecca looked around at the faces of humanity's best and brightest, all volunteering for what was essentially a suicide mission to save their species. We'll draw lots, she decided. But first, let's see if Pavel can help us from the inside. Pavel Volkov was indeed inside concordate space, but his situation was far from what his captors expected. The Techmor had taken him to their maximum security facility on the prison world of Kalamesh, expecting to break him through interrogation and torture. Instead, Pavel was having the most interesting conversations of his life. His cellmate was a Silvani trader named Kivara, who had been imprisoned for unsanctioned innovation. Next to them was a young Kralian engineer called Zeftol, convicted of unauthorized technical modifications. You're all here for the same reason I am, Pavel realized. You tried to improve things. Kivara's tentacles curled in what Pavel had learned was amusement. The Concordate calls it dangerous innovation. We call it thinking. How long have you been here? Pavel asked. 14 years, Zeftol replied bitterly. I designed a new type of engine that was 30% more efficient than standard models. The Engineering Council declared it disruptive to established systems. Pavel stared at him. You were imprisoned for making something better? Welcome to Concordate Justice, Kivara said. Innovation is the highest crime. It threatens stability. Over the following days, Pavel learned that Kalamesh held thousands of aliens who had been imprisoned for the crime of creative thinking. Engineers who had improved existing designs, scientists who had asked uncomfortable questions, artists who had created works that challenged traditional thinking. They were the galaxy's greatest minds locked away because they threatened the status quo. How many of you are there? Pavel asked during a gathering in the prison's common area. On this world? About 12,000, replied Dr. Thessera, a Velthari physicist who had been imprisoned for suggesting that concordate technology was inefficient. Pavel felt a grin spreading across his face. How would you like to help me save my species? When the concordate bombardment fleet arrived at Earth, they expected to find a defeated human civilization cowering before their technological superiority. Instead, they found empty space. Every human ship was gone. Every space station had been abandoned. Even the defensive satellites around Earth had been mysteriously deactivated. Admiral Velnara, commanding the bombardment fleet, was suspicious. Where are they? He demanded of his tactical officer. Unknown, sir. All human vessels have disappeared from our sensors. Even their planet seems unusually quiet. Before Velnara could respond, alarms began screaming throughout his ship. Then every ship in his fleet. Then every concordate vessel in the galaxy. The quantum viruses that Amy Chen had designed were simultaneously attacking every major computer system in concordate space. But they weren't just destroying data. They were doing something far more devastating. They were setting the prisoners free. On Kalamesh, Pavel Volkov watched the prison's force fields flicker and die as Amy's viruses took control of the facility's systems. Around him, 12,000 of the galaxy's most creative minds realized they were suddenly free. What do you want to do now? Kivara asked him. Pavel looked up at the sky where concordate ships were losing power and drifting helplessly through space. I want to show the galaxy what happens when you try to cage innovation. The rebellion began that day, spreading faster than the concordate could respond. On 1,000 worlds, the galaxy's most brilliant minds emerged from prisons and exile to join the human. The galactic concordate was dying, and Elder Thessara knew it. She stood in the ruins of the council chamber, watching emergency reports flood in from across the galaxy. Half their fleet was disabled by quantum viruses. Prison worlds were in open revolt. Species that had been loyal subjects for millennia were declaring independence, and it was all because of one impossible species from a backwater planet. Status report, she commanded, though her crystalline form was dimming with despair. General Kriegstock's armor was cracked and stained. His forces had been fighting desperate battles across 3 star systems, trying to contain rebellions that spread faster than they could respond. The Silvani Consortium has formally withdrawn from the Concordate, he reported. They're offering asylum to any species that wants to join their Innovation Alliance. The Kralian Third Fleet has mutinied, and is heading for human space. Even some of our own Thekmor colonies are questioning orders. Elder Thesara processed this information with growing horror. The humans hadn't just defeated them militarily. They had destroyed the very concept that had held the Concordat together for 50,000 years. The idea that stability was more important than progress. "What about the bombardment fleet?" she asked. "Missing," Krikstok replied quietly. Admiral Velnara's last transmission mentioned being surrounded by ships using unknown technologies. Then nothing. On Earth, President Elena Vasquez was experiencing a very different kind of chaos. The planet's communication networks were overwhelmed with messages from across the galaxy. Alien species were requesting diplomatic contact, offering trade agreements, seeking military alliances, and in some cases simply asking for permission to emigrate to human space. "Ma'am," said her aide, looking overwhelmed by the flood of data, "we have formal requests for asylum from the entire Kralian Engineering Corps, 3 Silvani trade fleets, and something called the Free Thinkers Liberation Front." Elena rubbed her temples. 6 months ago, humanity's biggest worry had been whether they were alone in the universe. Now they were accidentally leading a galactic revolution. "Where are Admiral Torres and the fleet?" she asked. "En route to the Concordat capital system," her aide replied, "along with representatives from 43 rebel species and what intelligence calls the largest fleet of innovative technology ever assembled." Admiral Rebecca Torres was indeed leading that fleet, but she had never imagined commanding anything like it. Her human ships were outnumbered 10-1 by vessels from species she had never heard of, using technologies that defied everything she thought she knew about physics. "Admiral," called Dr. Amy Chen from her station aboard the flagship Liberation, "I'm receiving a transmission from the Concordat capital. It's from Commander Zethkar." Rebecca nodded. "Put him through." The Kralian commander appeared on screen, but he looked different. Gone was the rigid military bearing and formal uniform. Instead, he wore simple clothes and stood in what looked like a human-style laboratory. "Admiral Torres," he said, "I am transmitting from the research station New Horizon. I have formally requested asylum with your forces." Rebecca was surprised. "Why, Commander?" "Because you showed me something I had forgotten," Zethkar replied. "The joy of discovery. For the past month, I have been working with Dr. Rodriguez and other human scientists. We have designed new technologies that combine the best of human innovation with alien knowledge. It is exhilarating." He gestured behind him where Rebecca could see humans and aliens working side by side at complex equipment. "More importantly," Zethkar continued, "I have information you need. Elder Thesara has activated the Omega Protocol." Dr. Amy Chen looked up sharply. "What's the Omega Protocol?" "The final option," Zethkar explained grimly. "If the Concordat cannot maintain control, they will destroy the galactic communication network entirely. Every world will be isolated, cut off from interstellar contact. They believe that without coordination, the rebellions will collapse and traditional order will eventually be restored." Rebecca felt a chill. "How long do we have?" "Hours, not days. The Omega stations are already powering up. Once activated, it will take centuries to rebuild interstellar communication." Amy was already working at her computer. "If they cut the network, we lose contact with all our allies. The rebellion becomes a million separate movements instead of one coordinated effort." "Can we stop them?" Rebecca asked. "Maybe," Amy replied. "But we need to reach the central control station on Velnara Prime. And we'd need to do it before they finish the activation sequence." Rebecca made her decision. Set course for Velnara Prime. Maximum speed. The journey to the Concordat capital took 8 hours. As they traveled, more ships joined their fleet. Rebel forces from across the galaxy converged on the ancient world that had ruled them for millennia. But they weren't the only ones heading there. Elder Thesara had called in every loyal ship she could find. The final battle of the Concordat War would be fought in the skies above the galaxy's oldest civilization. When the combined fleet dropped out of hyperspace near Velnara Prime, Rebecca was awed by what she saw. The planet was surrounded by massive space stations, some of them larger than Earth's moon. These were the Omega stations, built over thousands of years to serve as the ultimate weapon of control. But they were defended by the largest fleet Rebecca had ever seen. Thousands of concordate ships formed defensive shells around the planet, ready to fight to the last vessel to preserve their ancient order. "This is Admiral Torres to all ships," Rebecca broadcast. "Remember, we're not here to conquer. We're here to liberate. The galaxy doesn't need new masters. It needs the freedom to choose its own future." The battle began with a coordinated assault on the outer defensive line. Human ships led the attack, using their unpredictable tactics to create openings for their alien allies. Dr. Tanaka's modified medical scanners had been converted into weapons that could disable ship systems without killing crews. Pavel Volkov's hybrid engines allowed ships to maneuver in ways that traditional concordate vessels couldn't match. But the real breakthrough came from an unexpected source. As the battle raged, Commander Zethkar transmitted a message on all concordate frequencies. It wasn't a military communication. It was something the rigid concordate hierarchy had never experienced. A personal appeal from one individual to another. "My fellow Kralians," he said. "My name is Zethkar, and I was the first to make contact with the humans. I have spent months working alongside them, learning from them, and I have discovered something amazing. Innovation is not dangerous. Stagnation is dangerous." On screen, he showed footage of the research station where humans and aliens worked together. Ships that combined the best elements of multiple technologies. Medical devices that could heal injuries thought impossible to treat. Art and music that blended different cultural traditions into something entirely new. "The humans didn't come to destroy our civilization," Zethkar continued. "They came to help it grow. The question is, do we want to remain slaves to ancient fears, or do we want to become something greater?" The effect was immediate. Across the concordate fleet, individual ships began switching sides. Not entire formations or fleets, but individual captains making personal choices. A Kralian destroyer broke formation and joined the rebel fleet. A group of Silvani frigates powered down their weapons. Even some Thekmor vessels began questioning their orders. Elder Thisara watched her fleet dissolving from the command center of the primary Omega station. She could stop the rebellions, preserve the ancient order, maintain the stability that had ruled the galaxy for 50 millennia. All she had to do was destroy the communication network and let the galaxy fall into isolation and chaos. Her hand hovered over the activation control. "Elder Thisara," came a voice behind her. She turned to see a human woman approaching. Somehow, in the middle of the greatest battle in galactic history, a single human had reached her command center. "I am Dr. Yuki Tanaka," the woman said calmly. "I'm a doctor. I've come to help." "Help?" Thisara's crystalline form flickered with confusion. "Help with what?" "With your species," Dr. Tanaka replied. She held up one of her modified medical scanners. "I've been studying Velthari physiology. Your people are dying, aren't they?" Thisara stepped back, shocked. It was the Concordate's greatest secret. The Velthari were an ancient species, so old that their biology was beginning to break down. Their crystalline structures were slowly losing cohesion. Within a few thousand years, the entire species would be extinct. "How did you know?" Thisara whispered. "Because you're afraid of change," Dr. Tanaka explained gently. "Species that are thriving don't try to stop evolution. Only species that are dying fear the future." She showed Thisara the scanner readings. But dying doesn't have to mean extinct. Human medical technology, combined with Velthari crystalline science, could stabilize your people's biological matrix. You could live for millions more years, but only if you're willing to accept change. Thisara looked at the human woman, then at the activation control, then at the battle raging outside her station. For 50,000 years, the Velthari had maintained galactic order because they feared their own extinction. They had tried to freeze the universe in place, hoping that stability would somehow save them.